Hi guys, I'm Mark.
I'm Liam.
And welcome to Modern Fandom. Today we'll be doing our first actor review on Tom Hardy in films like Dark Knight Rises, Inception, Bronson, Locke, and
Warrior.
his upcoming film Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah. Alright, Tom Hardy's a very diverse actor in terms of the way he builds his body shape for different roles. So like Bane was muscular but not ripped at the same time. He didn't have a six-pack, but he was built massive. Bronson, whereabouts is a strong guy, but he's just a classic, British fella. So it didn't have to be built like an actual supervillain. He also differentiates his voices a lot. For instance, Ivan Locke in the film Locke plays a very strong Welsh accent, and Bronson obviously British, hard nut, London. So he's a cracking actor in my opinion, and today we'll be just looking at his various films, which are his best, and overall review as an actor. As Batman Dawn of Justice has been mentioned a lot, and it's just kind of around the corner, we're going to keep it related to Batman to begin with and start with his performance as Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. There's been many different interpretations of Bane over the years, whether that be in comics, movies, or in graphic novels, etc. He's been closely related to Batman in games also. Over the years he's been strongly linked with Batman. There's a famous scene from a comic, I can't remember the name of the comic, but it's Bane breaking Batman's back over his knee, which we're going to touch on in The Dark Knight Rises. But I'd like to just quickly say, Bane has traditionally got a luchador mask on, but sometimes he's seen wearing a black sort of luchador mask. He's sometimes pumped on Titan. There's so many different versions of him, but the one in The Dark Knight is more realistic. His breathing problems came after he was beaten up in the prison. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it already, go watch it. It's a cracking film. And while you're at it, if you haven't seen the whole series, Christopher Nolan's Batman, watch them all. They're all fantastic. Okay, we're moving on now to Locke, which is his next movie, which is basically just an hour and a half of him in a car, driving, I think, from or to London. It's a while since I've seen it. I saw it on Netflix, and basically it's just him driving in a car, and he's got his phone system, the parrot system, in which he can pick who he wants to call, see who's calling him, answer his calls, and talk to people while he's driving. And obviously, spoiler alert, so if you haven't seen the movie, stop watching. Well, stay if you like, but it is a massive spoiler. But he has problems with his wife. I think his wife's in labour, but he's recently cheated on his wife. His boss is calling because there's problems at work. Everything's going wrong, and he can only use his phone to try and solve these problems. It's a lot like 127 hours. Like, it's all set in the same confined space.
Yeah.
But this is a lot better than 126 hours in my opinion. But they're two different movies. I like them both a lot, but this one I thought was incredibly made. I thought it's fantastic, and he's incredible. Tom Hardy himself, the actor in question, was absolutely incredible in Locke. And yeah, Mark hasn't seen the movie himself, so we're going to get him involved a bit by asking him a few bits. So, okay, Mark, what do you think? Can you picture, first of all, Tom Hardy, because he can do different voices, that's obvious. Can you see him doing a Welsh accent?
Probably, yeah. He is quite diverse.
It's not like the typical Welsh though. It's really strong. It uses, because Welsh sometimes use a lot of the in their words, and he does it. He pulls it off proper. I'm not sure which end of Wales he's set from, but he does. He has a lot of Welsh sort of hack to his voice, and there's not a lot more to say about this movie because Mark hasn't seen it, so it's only me, and we have got a few more films to cover. But all I'll say is, great movie. For me, didn't get enough recognition as it deserved, but still, I personally loved it, and I think Locke could be his best performance, alongside others, which I also think are equally as good. It was actually mesmerising. I'd go that far. He was fantastic in this movie, but watch it if you haven't, and yeah, it's a great film to watch.
Okay, so the next film we'll be talking about is Bronson, in which Tom Hardy plays as Britain's most violent prisoner, Charles Bronson, or Michael Peterson. I thought, in my opinion, that was probably his best role for dedication. I haven't seen Locke, obviously, but I thought he really took it in his stride with Bronson. He went to see Bronson in prison a lot. He became friends with him. He took on the appearance. He made the physical alterations. He changed his voice, as we say, to a hard London nut. And I thought you could tell, if you look at interviews with Bronson himself, you can tell there's so much similarity between them. Because obviously Tom Hardy spent so much time seeing Bronson that he caught onto his voice, he caught onto his characteristics, his movements, his attitudes around prisoners, and yeah, also his willingness to go stark naked on screen. He did incredibly in Bronson. So, do you have any opinions?
I think, because I'm a big fan of Bronson, I'm really interested in, not exactly psychos, but people who I consider being misunderstood in a way, because while they are criminals, Bronson has publicly said, I'm a nice guy until you upset me, which is fair enough.
Yeah, you look at that in things from Bronson, you recognise a lot of the problems are when he's provoked. I mean, he did a lot of underground wrestling, that was bad, but most of the time it's unprovoked.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. There's a film starring Eric Bana called Chopper, and it's about a man called Mark Chopper Reed. He's dead now in real life. Rest in peace, Chopper, if you can hear me. But he's an Australian man who went to... I don't think he went to prison. Yeah, he did. He went to prison. He cut his own ear off. He got stabbed multiple times. In the movie, I'm not sure if it's entirely true. I think it was just based around true events. But I enjoy that sort of genre. And for me, Bronson, being a Tottenham fan as well, and I've once looked up famous Tottenham fans. He was on there, which then led me to, look up more on him. That's how I got to know him a lot more. And to see his movie was a great thing for me, because I just think Bronson, as a person, I can't really say anything. I don't know the man, but he's famous, obviously. And the thing that got me in the film is because you can see the similarities between Tom Hardy and actual Charles Bronson, because there's archive footage in the scene where they actually break out the prison and run a riot. They didn't use Tom Hardy for that scene. They actually used real footage of Bronson in the actual riot on the day in the 80s, which worked for me, because I thought then you get to see the real Bronson in action and how close it looks to Tom Hardy, which is, in terms of casting, is fantastic, because Tom Hardy actually looks like him once his hair's all shaved off and
he's got the moustache. I think Tom Hardy assimilated his character perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. There's no better actor for that, in my opinion.
No.
And the thing I appreciate the most with the movie is how well it's shot. Like, in most scenes, he's telling his story in a way where it shows you the scenes, but he's also up on a stage.
Yeah, it's a lot more from Charlie's perspective rather than the story itself. It's more about who he is.
Yeah, but I can't personally tell whether he's on a stage or if he's imagining it, because someone in the crowd at one point shouts up to him and he turns and confronts this person. Yeah. So I can't tell if he's dreaming or not, because he's like he's doing stand-up. He's getting a reaction from this crowd telling his story, and there's bits when he's like, half of his face is one character, turns just the other way. Yeah, it's really well made. He's dressed as a clown, so that's what gets me to think maybe he's just imagining this stage. Also, there are scenes in this movie that did drag a bit, but I did also at the same time appreciate, like the ones when he's in the lunatic asylum and there's them men dancing on the dance floor. The entire shot lasts about 2 minutes as it's panned away. It's just a bunch of lunatics dancing, and it's intriguing but at the same time kind of boring, but not in a bad way.
I think one of the other good things is it gives a lot of insight into actual British institutes from his perspective, because this is how it happened. Like when you see the man pee himself in the asylum, that's actually something that would happen, and like the doctors would not care for them. It would not be treated well. But yeah, that was the past, and it's good to see an insight of modern British institutes.
It's not really for me to say. It's up for the cinema to warn you of any, things that need viewer discretion, but I thought I couldn't give it a mention, because if you're going to watch this movie after seeing this review, find out there are some scenes that are quite uncomfortable. Like, for
There's
example,
a lot of nudity.
There's nudity, there's a scene when a man takes a poo in his hand and then wipes it on his face. That's just one scene. There are some really bad scenes if you're quite squeamish. So viewer discretion is advised for that film. It is a 15 rating, so it depends what you can handle really, but my brother personally, 14 years old, is scared of that movie, but my brother's really, so yeah.
So the last film we'll talk about, I guess, is one you haven't seen much of. It's Tom Hardy's upcoming film on Thursday the 14th, is Mad Max Fury Road. I think this is Tom Hardy's it's his first big film, Hollywood film, where he's the lead star. And I'm frankly massively hyped for it. The first 3 films, they were awful, but they were great, in my opinion. They were done very, very well, but they were very cheesy. But I think it's good to know that Fury Road is going to have the same director, George Miller, and he says this is exactly what he would have done if he had the budget in the first film. And basically the film is just one long car chase of Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron making stern faces, which I cannot wait for. So yeah, next Tuesday I'll give that a review, as I'm seeing on Friday, so
yeah, look out for that one. We've got that coming. One last thing, Tom Hardy has been in other films that we could go into depth with. I've seen Warrior and Inception, as has Mark. There's a few things he's been, like Peaky Blinders, Band of Brothers. The list goes on, but we want to keep it as short as we can, right? So maybe a bit lengthy. Plus, it's not worth going into detail because there's not exactly massive roles in these shows. I mean, Peaky Blinders is more about Cillian Murphy, Inception is more about DiCaprio, so we wasn't going to go over them, just the things where he's like the leading role, the star. So if you'd like us to do that, just let us know and we'll go into more depth, and we'll revisit Tom Hardy as an actor. Okay, we're going to run the competition again now, and depending if we get feedback or not, we're going to start doing an actual giveaway, whether that be posters or merchandise, maybe t-shirts. I will start giving them away, or we will. And we're not going to do it now. In this episode, we need to know how much of an audience we're going to get first, but once we've got sort of rough idea how many people are going to be commenting, if they are, we will start giving away prizes for the winner. And if you like, we can start perhaps next week.
yeah.
And I'll buy a few posters ready to give out to you guys, because we want to give back. Because just for the record, this channel isn't about earning money or anything like that. We're doing this purely because we're two guys who enjoy nattering about comics, letting out our nerdy side, and we thought we'd show you guys, address you guys more. So yeah, we've said what we want to say about Tom Hardy as an actor. Now it's your turn. In the comments, in 3 words, please explain Tom Hardy as an actor and as a person if you've seen more about him than we have. And the winner will get a shout out, and like I said, next week we'll start doing giveaways.
Okay, so that's it from us. I've been Mark.
I've been Liam.
Ta-ra.
Have a nice day.